Well, we were asked about which nutrients might be good to have. My way of learning which nutrients we might be low in is by using my dietary analysis software that I've been writing for decades. And so I plug in for you what you ate and how much you ate of each thing during a day and drank. And then I plug it into the software and I can see if you got enough selenium or zinc or any of the other things. Now, when I test vegans, and also reading the literature too gives me good insight on what vegans might need, and the fact that I've been a vegan for now 50 years, thank you. I see that vegans tend to be low in calcium. And so I make an effort to get enough calcium in my diet. And there are many foods that have calcium in them. Sesame seeds or sesame tahini, a great way to get calcium. Organic tofu has a lot of calcium in it. Greens have calcium, all the greens. There's nuts and seeds often have calcium too. But when you add it all up, typically vegans get about 550 milligrams of calcium, maybe as much as 700 milligrams of calcium a day. And yet, the World Health Organization has an estimate for low protein diets where you don't need as much calcium as you do on a high protein diet, like an American diet. So on a low protein diet, I'd say you need about 800 milligrams. In other words, I fall short every day, and it's a rare day when I cross 800, or any vegan that I've ever analyzed crosses 800. Some raw fooders with lots of nuts and seeds manage to cross that barrier, but it's kind of hard. So what do? Well, I actually supplement my calcium every day to make sure that it's enough, because strong bones are really important. We don't want osteoporosis, and broken hips can be just a devastating impact on a person's life. So make sure you get enough calcium, calculate it if you can, and supplement it if you need to. But the number one supplement for calcium is calcium carbonate, which most doctors recommend, but the absorption may be as low as 3%. So if you take 1,000 milligrams of calcium carbonate, you may be actually absorbing about 30. And that's not a very big dent in the 1,000 you may need. So make sure the form is good. There are many forms of calcium that I outline in my book, Vitamins and Minerals Demystified, from both food and from plants. Another thing I find low in vegans and other people too is the omega-3s that were mentioned. And omega-3s are vitally important. Flax powder, if you grind up flax, is one of the nice ways to get omega-3s. From that, you get the plant-based alpha-linolenic acid. This is the basic plant omega-3. In our bodies, we are all able to transform this into EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, and then transform that into DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. I wrote a whole chapter in my book, Fats and Oils Demystified, that covers the conversion in the human body from ALA to EPA. Now, we need these long-chain fatty acids like EPA to form the basis for eicosanoids. And the omega-3 eicosanoids are able to quench inflammation. They are able to quench pain, painful prostaglandins. Their ability to be transformed into leukotrienes is very good for lowering inflammation. They are absolutely essential. Some people have some trouble making EPA from ALA. There are quite a few different nutrients that are needed for this process to occur. It's a three-step process. The first step, the enzyme, delta-6 desaturase, changes it to add one more unsaturated bond. Now, it's interesting that there's a seed called echium seeds that contains stearidonic acid, which is what results from that first step. That's the limiting step of rate that limits our ability to make EPA from ALA. In other words, if you can do it, make your EPA from ALA. One reason is that when you take a supplement, even if it's algae-based, it's very likely to be rancid. And rancid long-chain polyunsaturated fatty acids can lead to DNA adducts and cancer and malondialdehyde. They are very unhealthy. The other reason, of course, with fish oil is that they're very heavily polluted, just like the fish are. And many of the pollutants, like PCBs, the polychlorinated biphenyls, concentrate in the fish oil. So it's hard to find a fish oil that's not heavily polluted. And even the algae oils may. Krill oil, for instance, absorbs fluorine and is a high source of that. It can be dangerous. Other things that vegans might be low on if they're eating especially, you mentioned a super low-fat diet, can be a real problem with vitamin E, because vitamin E is something that's found in fatty foods like nuts and seeds and avocados and olives. And it's important to eat those foods if you want to get enough vitamin E, which 93% of Americans are deficient in. So you might consider supplementing vitamin E either with walnuts and sunflower seeds are two great sources, or if necessary with a supplement. But with the vast, vast majority of supplements providing only a synthetic fake vitamin E that is not helpful at all and possibly slightly harmful, it's the synthetic alpha tocopherol is a mixture of 8 isomers, only one of which is the real alpha tocopherol. The others are fake. And so I cannot think of a commercial vitamin with vitamin E, and I know why, because it costs quite a bit more. It costs as much for the real vitamin E in the brain and body food supplement I make as it does for everything else in the multivitamin. It's just, that's why manufacturers don't use it. So vitamin E could be low on a vegan diet. Sometimes I even want to supplement with vitamin C. And the reason is that, as has been pointed out, our food has been hybridized. It's been changed to taste better, to be more watery and sweet than it used to be originally. I mean, wild lettuce is very bitter, but modern lettuce is pretty sweet and tasty. Well, this has degraded the nutrients in the food too. So I find that vitamin C in the wild, a person could eat 1,200 milligrams per day. But what we get as the most whole plant food vegan is perhaps 400 milligrams per day. So I choose to supplement vitamin C as well. And this is very easy to do. It's quite safe, and it has a lot of good effects on the human body. Now, 2 more things about vegan supplementation. We really need to get vitamin B12. And since we don't get it in our food, we need to supplement it. So I use 200 micrograms of the methylcobalamin form of vitamin B12. And it's also vital that we get folate. Now, most vegan diets are replete with folate because we eat lots of greens and beans. And that's where folate's found, also nuts and seeds. So no problem if you're eating those, but if you're not, then you're going to need it. There's obviously lots more you could say about the vitamins and minerals and essential factors that humans might need. Those trace minerals like selenium and zinc, those are also very important too. Okay, I think that's about a wrap for vegan nutrition. Thank you.
I just want to add a few little points. First of all, iodine is really good for brain, and more important, nutrition for mitochondria. So a lot of people are depleted because of all that's going on there, and there's 3 key supplements I would recommend, iodine being 1, D-ribose being 2, and then CoQ10 PQQ. They're all specific for rebuilding the mitochondria, for regenerating them. That's important. And then antioxidants, because there's so much free radicals being created in our environment today that a broad range of antioxidants is really important to do. One of the better ones is astaxanthin. It's very, very potent antioxidant. But the whole idea is we are hit by a lot of things that are creating free radicals, and they destroy the mitochondria. So to protect your mitochondria, those are the basics I would recommend for that.
Totally agree. And also, he mentioned the carotenoids, and that's something that we should get on a good plant-based diet. We should get plenty of colorful carotenoids in our food, and we do. But they're fat-soluble nutrients, and also interesting, you mentioned the super low-fat diets, very difficult to digest and absorb the carotenoids or the vitamin E or any of the fat-soluble nutrients. And of course, we mustn't forget vitamin D, essential for brain health. Vitamin D3 is something that should be supplemented, but we shouldn't go too far under it either, especially in this kind of a climate. Thank you.